Greetings, programs. This is Wretch, and welcome back to Minecraft. Now, today we're going to work on an addition to the castle. I said I was going to do a basement/dungeon sublevel, and I'm planning on doing that. But as you can see, I went ahead and got the Teutonic cross done here on the floor. I think it looks pretty good, along with the chandelier. I think the Great Hall is starting to come along very, very nicely. Now, what I've done is, it's one of those little things that I did that turned into a big chore. I actually redesigned the stairway, and instead of, remember when we used to come through here, the stairway was right here, and then you'd start going up. Well, I put it this way because it actually does a better job, like this, of opening out this way. And the reason I'm doing that is because I wanted an entrance, because if you go down here, as you can see, I've lowered it down. And if we grab our shovel here, like so, it leads into a cave system. And this is where we are going to go ahead and set the dungeon. We're going to go ahead and not iron out, but even out a whole lot of this flooring. And we're just going to get this done. So this is going to be our busy work for the day. Now, how high does this ceiling go? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to make sure that we get this as high as we can. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, why is that there? Is that the... Oh, yes it is. That's embarrassing. Yoink. 1, 2... Well, that's the floor 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't know that they'd only be 4 high. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that makes sense. We did it right. That was going to really confuse me. Oh. So I wanted to talk about something today. I have something on my mind that's been eating at me lately. Not in a bad way, but it's just something that... Let's see where this... Alright. So it goes from that point... So we'll make sure that the wall is right there. Cool. But I've been browsing a lot of YouTube videos lately. And one series that always seems to bring me back is the reaction videos. And I love reaction videos. There's just something about seeing people's legitimate reactions to things that just fascinate me. And I think I've said that before, ad nauseum. But the one series I keep on going back to is the reaction videos to Star Wars The Force Awakens. And I watch those videos a lot, and I think the reason I do, not necessarily because I am a huge Star Wars fan, which I am, but it's one of those things that the reactions from people my age have really, really been intriguing to me. And the interesting thing is it's almost universally across the board. I am out of brick, unfortunately. But seeing grown men cry with the Star Wars... And do we... Oh, I didn't even put any of this stuff back in, did I? Okay, well, let's get some of this cooking. And fortunately, we will have enough. Oh, 17. Yeah, why not? And put in that and that. Takes 8 to make a full stack of 64, if I recall. But that should be enough. Alright. while that's cooking, let's go up here and see. But the reason it's been fascinating me so... Oh, hi. Are you... Okay, there's your bear. I was just like, are you just going to sit here? I'll invite you in, otherwise. My sword's in my inventory, but I'll go ahead and kill you. The crying... The crying reaction has really made me been thinking lately. Because I've been... Oh, that is a horrible place for a creeper to go. Oh! Don't you dare blow up there. And I am out. Where's my sword? Hiya! I've really been thinking about why a lot of people cry who are around my age during that that whole process. And it's really just made me think about geek culture in general. And one thing I've noticed is geek culture more and more, there's been certain times where people are like, oh, they'll grow out of this phase, they'll eventually grow up and move on, and a lot of people do. For example, and I think honestly that's kind of a, I don't know if it's probably a society trained thing, but tomorrow's my birthday, and this is one of the reasons that's been kind of running through my head, is I'm turning 32 tomorrow. And part of me is wondering, and it's, don't get me wrong, it's very quiet, but it's a very significant voice despite the fact that it's quiet. It's like Christopher Lee whispering in your ear, basically telling me, why am I 32 years old and playing video games on YouTube? Despite the fact that a lot of the life hurdles I've already dealt with. You know, I'm married, I own my own house, and all this kind of stuff. A lot of stuff that people think that you need to achieve in life. I've achieved a lot of these things by the... Ooh, hello. Where'd you come from? I'm getting all kinds of unwelcome visitors here today. At least it was nice enough to drop a golden helmet. But it's a... I didn't have this thing lit up very well, did I? Ooh, you dropped an enchanted bow. What do you have in said enchanted bow? Unbreaking 1? Yeah. But it makes me kind of realize, well, maybe you need to move on with something else. But it's that small voice, and I realized, no. Why should I? It's one of the... And the thing that really convinced me about that were watching the Star Wars videos. And I was watching this one guy. He had a really thick Brooklyn accent. He actually posted this video making fun of the people crying during the Star Wars stuff. You know, typical internet prick. You know, we all know those kind of people. But I think the reason that so many people my age cry during the Star Wars trailer is, I think one of the reasons that all of us are so involved in geek culture these days, besides being, you know, it being awesome, is it blows on the embers. And what I mean by that is, I really think that Star Wars and a lot of stuff like that reactivates something that age eventually takes away, which is that childlike innocence. And it's one of those things, children have to grow up so much quicker than they did when I grew up, or just, and I think that's with every generation. Every next generation of children have to grow up faster, and that's a horrible, horrible testament to the kind of world that we live in, despite the fact that we've had so many technological advances and in medicine and whatnot. It's a pretty depressing world that we live in, because despite the fact we're having so many of these technological innovations, a lot of the warning signs toward dystopian societies, which we've read in every science fiction novel or seen in every science fiction movie, those first little warning signs are starting to happen. And kids have to grow up so much faster now, but when we were kids in the 80s and 90s, a lot of us, we still were able to balance out being a kid in the old school sense, you know, playing outside and still playing video games and all that kind of stuff. We weren't nearly as plugged in as kids of this age are. Damn kids. But Star Wars was so carefree. It didn't have like sweeping social commentary or any of the kind of stuff that, quite frankly, a lot of people demand in their movies these days, in their stories. They want some sort of commentary on society at large or anything like that. Star Wars was just supposed to be like this fun, carefree science fiction, which is exactly how Lucas designed it. He wanted a kind of a throwback to all the old Flash Gordon serials he watched when he was a kid. And I think what happens is when we see Star Wars done right, like this trailer did. Now, not to say the movie is going to do Star Wars right, though I hope it does. But the overall vibe of it with the music and the characters and the familiar setting, it sets us all back. It takes us back to another time and another place where we didn't have those responsibilities. And it may, you know, it could remind people of parents who are no longer with them, you know, who took them to the movies. It just hits a very, very potent vein in people. And I think that's why geek culture now, especially with the older generation, is still so prevalent when it normally didn't used to be prevalent, is because the world is getting so crazy, for lack of a better term, that we want to do everything that we can to blow on those embers and keep some of that childhood innocence alive. Oh, by the way, I did put the polished stone down here. I think it looks pretty good. What I might do to hide that is get some slabs and just put it along here, so it's a little bit shorter on this floor. Or the space is a little bit more confined, not by much. And that really opened my eyes to the LARPing in general. For those of you who don't know, I do play in a LARP, and there's been a lot of issues going on with this LARP. And there's always been issues, really, but as I got more into the game, there's a lot of politics in LARP society in general, not just the game that I play. And my whole thought on this whole process is kind of open my eyes to why that is, because some people take the game incredibly seriously, and I did too for a while. And what I realized is it fills a hole. That LARP culture is very similar to the Star Wars thing. We're kind of blowing on the embers of our childhoods, trying to keep that spark lit, trying to keep that fire lit. Just anything from playing, you know, it harkens back to playing pretend in your backyard or on the street with your friends, playing knights, and it's supposed to make you a kid again. It's supposed to make you more carefree, more happy. And honestly, a LARP world, which is essentially, I mean, not real, but people take it so seriously, is because, well, it has its problems, obviously. It's got its politics and so forth, but the politics that you deal with in a LARP game, or any game in general, is probably infinitely easier to deal with and to face than the politics and whatnot of the real world, which is so in shambles right now, really. Now, that's the cool thing is that geek culture is kind of thriving right now. We're in somewhat of a geek revolution, I would say, in terms of interest in geekdom, and quite frankly, geeks being accepted. And that's a good thing and a bad thing in my mind. Not necessarily because geeks are being accepted, that's bad. It's not like the hipster thing. You know, we were geeks before geeks became popular. It's the fact that geekdom is becoming popular not because people have accepted it as, okay, this is cool, this is fun. I think so many people are going into geek culture because they're realizing that they can blow on those embers and try and keep their childhood alive. It comes off to me at times kind of like watching a ton of people do CPR. It's kind of depressing, isn't it, in a way? But all you can do, really, at that juncture is just keep on keeping on and keep enjoying what you enjoy. I mean, and I'm not saying that people should grow up. Of course not. I am not saying that at all. I'm a 32-year-old kid who plays Minecraft here on YouTube for people. But it's just one of those things that do whatever you have to do to keep that fire alive. Blow on those embers. Break out a fan. Heck, go get a big oscillating fan to blow on those embers. Because the world in general is not really a nice place. And some of that childhood innocence, some of that childhood imagination, and looking out to the stars, and all those cliches, I think we need those more than ever in this day. I think what we're going to as an escape may be the thing that actually saves everything. So, there you go. Nice little rant. I could keep on going, but I don't want to bore anyone. Too late. But anyway, I'm not exactly sure how big I want to make this thing. Part of me wanted to make it as wide as the castle in terms of the expanse, but if we're just doing this as a dungeon, because we already have the storage area up there, I don't think we need to make it too big. So let's fill in the floor here and see where we go. And if you're going to do geek culture, for God's sake, please do it right. I have read so much bad mojo about the new Fantastic Four movie. I read about all the horrible behind-the-scenes stuff with the director being either drunk or high and verbally abusive towards cast, and 20th Century Fox butting their, putting their nose into the development of the movie. Because, Fox, other than Star Wars, has such a wonderful, at least lately, has such a wonderful track record with properties, I was like, you remember Firefly's epic 7-season run? No? Yeah, neither do I. And that's because of Fox. They're not really known for sound decisions when it comes to stuff that we like. And this is part of their stubbornness, because they absolutely refuse to give the rights of Fantastic Four back to Marvel, where quite frankly it belongs, for no other reasons than the track record. We have watched and seen that Marvel can do some amazing good things with their own properties when they're allowed to run with it. With the Avengers and all that. And Ant-Man, which surprised the heck out of me with how good it was. Ooh, hello there, baby zombie. I hear you. We actually may still dig right into this cave system that was underneath the castle. I also might put some foundations around. I think that would look kind of good. And also we can use the cross to kind of determine where we are on the floor plan. But apparently the movie is horrible. Fox went in and started butchering the editing without the director's knowledge or permission, and removed 3 really big action sequences from the film. Apparently they did Doom horribly, and I've seen pictures of it, and you have to do the villain well. That was one of the things that I did not like about the original Fantastic Four series that they did, is they got the visual of Doctor Doom very, very well. It's just the characterization and everything was crap after that, but the look of it they got incredibly well. And this one apparently has a lot of the personality. That's what I've heard. Don't quote me on that. Has a lot of the personality, but none of the look. So I'm just like, please, it is not hard. He's probably the most popular and one of the coolest Marvel villains of all time. Please give him back to Marvel. I would love to see Doctor Doom, laying the smack down on Thor or having those epic fights. I think that would just be an amazing thing to see in the theater. And they're hurting right now because Fantastic Four bombed. Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible movie is still #1 on the box office right now. And honestly, they are going to take probably a significant financial windfall from the movie when they could have made a ton of money selling the rights back to Marvel. So maybe they'll learn a lesson because of their stubbornness. I really doubt they will. But, that's another pick down. Now, you may guys see some frame rate issues during this episode, and if so, I do apologize. I upgraded to Windows 10. Yeah. And don't worry, I did all the stuff that you need to do to make sure that you're not sending all of your information to Big Brother. But it's still one of those things that we're still kind of figuring out how it works and how it interacts with all of my other programs. I'm noticing that my video recording is a little bit quieter than normal. I'm gonna have to go in and try and fiddle with everything here before too much longer. Let's get a few bit more blocks of iron. Whoop. Where did the iron go? I could have sworn I just grabbed a thing of iron. Did I? Oh, there it is. So, speaking of Windows 10, I have downloaded and started playing Minecraft for Windows 10. And guys, holy crap, that game runs as smooth as silk. I cannot wait until they add more stuff to it. I honestly might convert over to playing Minecraft on Windows 10 after I'm done killing the Ender Dragon in this series. Because some of the stuff is definitely missing, but most of my builds are pretty simple, so we don't have to worry about a lot of redstone mechanics or anything like that. It's more about using your imagination here. Which, not to say that redstone doesn't use imagination, but you kind of have to use your imagination playing the Minecraft Windows 10 because it's missing quite a few things right now. But holy crap, is it smooth. It is just, it runs like smooth. We're talking about like 70s Barry White smooth kind of. I was very, very surprised. But I cannot wait to give that a shot. So let's go ahead and do this stack right here. And then I think we'll be good for the day. And let the rest of that cook. And those who are still with us, I appreciate you guys listening to that little rant. I had been thinking about that for quite some time. And just one of those things. We are all in this together. In our geekiness. We got to make sure that it stands too, and that hello there, and that the upcoming generation is able to revel in their geekiness as well, despite the fact that they obviously don't have as much geekiness as we did, and every generation will say that. I had a Soma, who you probably know from the Brawlhalla videos. I sat her down one day and had her watch a bunch of intros to the cartoons that I grew up with in the 80s and 90s, and she felt so wronged that she didn't get to grow up during that time. But we have to make sure that they are able to hold on to their geekiness, guys, because honestly, they'll probably start trying to blow on the embers of their childhood infinitely faster than we did. Because they have to grow up a whole lot faster than we did. I'm reading so much stuff about kids being diagnosed with depression at early ages. Depression at early ages, guys. Think about that. It's like, you shouldn't be worried about depression when you're a kid. You should be worried about, what's packed in your lunch or all that. It's just, I guess I'm just an old fart when it comes to stuff like that. But, man, kids got to be kids. Shouldn't have to grow up unless it's absolutely necessary. Let's go ahead and... yeah, we still got to figure out this... hollow this out. We're almost to the end of the cross. And look, good news is that we have not ran into a cave, because that just prevents a whole... that causes a whole new group of issues. However, we do find one. Once I get it all filled out, I'm going to have a ladder going down so we have easy access to go into the caves. If we need any supplies, we need to do some strip mining or such. So, that'll be good. So, let's get this out. And you need to go too. And I'm trying to be hopeful. I'm not really in that whole spiel. I'm trying to be hopeful. I'm not a very hopeful person. I'm usually quite cynical. I've been watching a lot of Black Books lately, which is one of my favorite little series that was on British television. And if you watch that show, Bernard Black is at times my spirit animal in his cynicism and way of looking at things. So if it's an important enough issue to make me hopeful, then it's a pretty significant issue. But I think that'll about do it for the day. I'm going to go ahead and finish this up and try and see how much room I need to get our dungeon going. But I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you'd like to go ahead and click like down below, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.